some 4 companies contracted by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme to pay students are not registered as financial service providers. That's according to an investigation by the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, or OUTA. Students across institutions of higher learning, meanwhile, are up in arms over the costs of direct payments of allowances. We are now joined by the project manager of OUTA, Rudie, Heyneke. Rudie, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So the report suggests that these 4 companies are not registered financial service providers and are relatively new firms with very little proof of existence as fintech companies. How did this information come to your attention, and how was the research conducted on the report?
Good afternoon, Rudie, and thank you. The information was published, or the awards when it was, the tenders when it was awarded, it was published on the website of NSFAS, and we looked into the companies and realized that these companies, some of them have got really a bad track record at previous institutions, and that they were relatively new. And I think it is worth to mention, and very sad to say today when it is Women's Day, that one of the companies appointed a black woman just 2 months prior the submission of the tender, and a month after the tender was awarded, she was asked to resign, and the beneficial owner, who's still the owner of the company, became a director. So there are a lot of things that we question, and we question the evaluation process of NSFAS when they conducted their due diligence and their studies into these companies.
So there was also fronting, or there's fronting involved?
Absolutely. And just to come back to the financial service provider registration that you mentioned, there were 2 prior tenders to this one, where it was compulsory for the bidder to have a banking license. In other words, being a registered financial provider. With this last bid, the mandatory requirements were decreased from 20 to only 5. And now it's not a requirement to have an FSP license, but you must be in affiliation with a bank that do have a license, a financial service provider's license. Now, the question that arises here is that if there is a problem going forward with one of these companies, will these banks or these other financial service providers who they are in an alliance with, will they take the responsibility? We're talking about millions a month that is moved and paid to the students. And those are all concerns. And if the whole project does not succeed, the people that will be damaged by this will be the students.
Let's expand on the findings of your report. And one of them is that after negotiations with the service providers, NSFAS agreed to a monthly fee of 102 million rand on its bank account, but decreased the monthly fee to 29 and eventually 12 million rand. What does that mean?
It's actually 12 rand and 29
12 rand.
Yeah, that is the monthly fee for a person holding this account that he or she must pay, for the services of this account. And it is called an in-bundle fee. And you are supposed to get some free transactions because you pay this monthly fee. On the NSFAS bank card, you pay the 12 rand, but there are no other benefits like you get with the commercial banks in South Africa. The commercial banks will also ask you a fee. There's actually one bank that gives a student's account for free, no fee. But then the transaction fees, there are no transaction fees. So if you pay the 12 rand, you pay nothing more after that. On the NSFAS card, you pay, for example, when you transfer money electronically to another account, for every 1,000 rand that you transfer, you pay a 30 rand fee. And that is why the students are up in arms, because these fees are excessively high. And it does not compare with the commercial banks in the country.
Here's another curious finding. Access Bank, the alleged sponsor bank, is not listed as an official bank with whom state institutions can transact.
Yeah, Treasury, National Treasury does not recognize Access Bank as one of the banks that states can do business with. Access Bank, if I can quickly give you the history, back in the day, the Bank of Athens was registered in South Africa, I think in 1947, especially to cater for the Greek expats in South Africa. Later on, Grow Bank bought over the Bank of Athens, and then Access Bank, who's situated and listed in Nigeria, bought out Grow Bank. So now this bank, Access Bank, has got, I think, two branches in South Africa, but it is actually it's a Nigerian bank. It is big in Nigeria, it's big in the UAE, and some branches in Europe. But in South Africa, it is only doing business for 2 years. And that's also a concern. Although they are a credit provider, and although they are a registered financial service provider, because of the banking license that comes from, way back in 1947, this is one of the banks where the service providers went into an affiliation with.
Did you unearth evidence of foul play?
Well, all our information we've handed to the SIU. We were restricted by NSFAS when we applied for information regarding the tenders through a buyout process. We were denied the information. We went on appeal. We were denied again. And we have to make a choice. Are we going to litigate, or are we going to hand our information to the SIU, who has got a proclamation to investigate NSFAS? And we made a decision, let's give the information to the SIU and let them carry on, and give them the information, and if there's foul play, they will unmask it.
Because in your findings, you also unearthed that only 2 of the service providers are registered as VAT vendors, though their projected turnover is expected to exceed R1 million per annum. What is it that you want SARS to do here?
That is a very interesting matter, because the law tells you that, listen, if you have a turnover more than R1 million a year, you must register as a VAT vendor. Now, 2 of the companies, and I checked it again yesterday, are not registered as VAT vendors. Why it is important is that you must remember that 12 Rand fee that we talked about is 12 Rand including VAT. Now, 2 service providers are not registered as VAT vendors, so they cannot collect that VAT, but they do. So we will notify, and we have we will notify this week, the rest of this week, using the time, and notify SARS about it, so that they can also be aware of people doing business, collecting VAT, but they are not registered as a VAT vendor.
I mean, essentially, you argue that the biggest losers here are learners, because NSFAS direct payment scheme will cost students more than R3 billion for the remainder of the service provider's contract period. How long have they been contracted for?
The contract is for 5 years, and there's still about 4.5 years left. And you are quite correct. The biggest losers will be the students. And one must remember that when you are a NSFAS-funded student, these people come from the poorest households in the country. Everybody was very excited in the beginning of the year when the Minister of Higher Education announced an increase for student allowances. But it is a situation of, giving with the one hand and taking away with the other hand, because this small increase that they got, about everything will be, lost because of the fees that they pay. And the one thing that we must remember, and in our report we use this example as well, that for 3 transactions, to get your money and to transfer it to your own personal bank account, it will cost you 64 Rand. That's approximately 4% of the income of a student getting an allowance. Now, I do not think that anybody in the country earning a salary being forced by your employer to use a specific bank account, and when your salary is paid into your account, 4% is gone. You don't even see it. I don't think, that is fair, and I think that is unacceptable, and that, leaves the students with no choice. They don't have a freedom of choice. I want to transact with this bank, or I want to open an account with that bank. Build a relationship for future. In 4 or 5 years' time, some of these students will be professionals. And then they can say, listen, but I do have a relationship with my bank for 5 years already. But that is not the situation currently, because they are forced to use this, otherwise they will not get their allowances.
Rudie Heyneke is with OUTA as the project manager. Rudie, thank you very much for your time.